something extraordinary going on in Barrie, Ontario. No one seems to know exactly what I'm on.
Welcome everybody to a new episode, and this time we have Ron from The Parallel. Thank you so much for joining us.
What's up? Thanks for having me. Grateful to be here.
I think you get the award for like the furthest away person we've talked to, because most bands are like, yeah, like we're based in Simcoe County or we're in Toronto. You are in Utah?
I am, and Utah is not a part of Canada. Utah is
True.
in the middle of nowhere, in the mountains, 2,000 miles west of you guys. So thank goodness for technology where we can chat and have a good time, even if I am in the middle of nowhere.
When I think of Utah, I definitely don't think of metalcore. So what is the scene like in Utah? Like, is it just you? That Mormon metalcore.
Well, it's fun because Utah is always so I consider Salt Lake City to be like pretty artsy, like as a city itself. But Salt Lake City is also the one that everyone skips over when they're touring through the states. So it's usually like, yeah, Denver and then Las Vegas and then like LA, like they just completely skip us and usually Idaho, but I think we have a little one up on Idaho there. Not too much out there, but the music scene out here is mostly, from my experience, it's mostly like indie rock. Like there's a lot of bands and there's a lot of really talented musicians out here. But it's mostly like in that rock scene, the pop scene, you know, there's a good amount of pop punk bands. But as for like metal, to be honest, like there's a select few. So it's a very interesting being in that genre. And every time I tell people that like my home shows are like Barrie / Toronto, it's always pretty silly because it's the only way I've been able to play metal is by getting out of Utah.
Yeah, so how has this process been in terms of like recording? Because you recorded one album in 2018, you put out 2 singles this year. How does that work with, you know, the majority of your band, or at least 1/3 of your band, living in Canada while you're in Utah?
Yeah, so it takes a lot of planning. Back when the world was open and we could travel places, I was up in Canada probably like 4 to 5 times a year. And during that time, we would, you know, meet up, shoot music videos, write demos, get content made, play shows, do as much as we can. Or like if we have tours lined up, you know, I would fly up for that. So a few times they visited Utah, but very select few times. It's usually me going up there. And so when we have the opportunity to do things, we always will. But with everything being closed, it's very limiting, especially now living 2,000 miles away. So our entire process has been remote. It's been completely remote. So like we write, you know, Luke and Brett write parts up in Canada. I write the drums and kind of like program them here so we can get ideas. And then we like actually send stems and everything is all back and forth. And then the dude who mixes our music is in Australia. So it's just like, it's all over the place. So if we can do that remotely, if we can, you know, make music across three countries, 3 continents at this point, like, I think we can keep going, you know. Obviously it's going to be a little easier when things open back up and I can actually, you know, see my friends again. But for the time being, we're making do.
Well, so you had 2 singles come out. You had Barely Live, and then you had Phantom Pains. So I assume all of this was written, recorded, mastered, completely isolated from each other.
Yes, the last 3 singles that we did, including Poor Me, have been a whole new ballpark for us because it's been completely remote. Weaver, like we got to actually go to Ohio and like record this specific that specific record. But for the time being here, we've had to kind of step up our game and learn more about the demo process, you know, mixing that sounds decent and not just total garbage so we can use stems. I've been messing with like playing real drums and, like I said before, like blending samples with them so that when it is produced, when it is mixed and mastered, like it's usable, the tones are good. And like, because we don't do completely digital, so that's been the real struggle of like finding that happy medium of like, how can we get a full studio experience while living 2,000 miles away? Because if we didn't, you know, we'd just kind of be sitting there for 2 years until we can go record something. So we've all been kind of learning more about the technology side of things, the art side of things, like kind of just branding ourselves. the demo process, the mixing process, we've been investing a lot more money in just like learning. And, you know, even though we haven't put out a ton of music in the last 2 years due to this whole pandemic, I like to think that we've grown more as people, as friends, and as a band, like more than the entire like past of this band, just because we've been forced to. Like we've been thrown into it, and now we're in a situation where we have to learn. We have to step up our game more. We need to face that diversity of living 2,000 miles away and still being able to write music. So I think we've come a long way. There's still obviously so much to learn and so much to like grow and do, but that's the cool thing with music is that there's always going to be time for it. There's no like ceiling, you know, you can keep pushing yourself and keep learning as much as you want to do. And if we can be like self-sufficient rolling off of that in like a year or two, you know, that'd be phenomenal. That's the end goal, honestly.
So for people who are not familiar with the Parallel, how would you describe the sound to somebody who is not familiar?
Well, it's changed a lot. So I would say for where we're at right now, God, I don't even know.
The rest of the band is going to judge you if you don't get it right. So.
This is true. That's why I'm really planning my words here. It's like if modern metalcore had like an electronic and like new metal edge to it, that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still trying to encompass a lot of parts of Weaver that have like the progressive and kind of like technical sound of metalcore, but blending it towards more of like a fun approach, like still going deep in our like what we talk about, the lyrics that we write about, but like in the writing process, like, yeah, let's do some open notes for 30 seconds because why not? It's fun. We're at 180 beats per minute. Let's have a blast and let's throw some electronic samples in there while we can. It's just like adapting modern metalcore and modern metal things that we all as a group like and enjoy and want to write, and trying to spin it with our own edge of our own influences growing up, whether it's, you know, a little bit of a new metal edge, a little bit of like some sampling and I don't know, like trap beats here and there, who knows? Like it's kind of a mishmash of everything, but that's the fun of it. We're trying to just like have that unique sound that we all make sure that we like writing. We're not doing it because we want to like commercially succeed, I guess. Like we're writing the stuff because we really have fun writing it, and listening back on these tracks is like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like I would write that again. So long story short, TLDR, modern metal with a bit of like a new metal electronic twist, I guess.
You hear these stories about guys, you say, you know, back in my day, like we didn't have all these metal subgenres, you know what I mean? The guys who listened to Van Halen were the same guys who like listened to Slayer, you know what I mean? Like there was no like, there was none of this definition. And when you look back on it, I mean, Dokken has songs that half of them, like some of them sound like thrash songs, and some of them sound like Boston. You know what I mean? So like when you look at it that way, you don't limit yourself to a genre and you just have fun with it, then I think that your own enjoyment of the music as a musician increases.
I agree. I think that being able to be honest with what you're feeling and what you want to write is more important than the commercial side. I think every band has been in that situation where we want to succeed. You know, we want people to listen to our music. We want to have this commercially approachable band, but then also if you're in a metalcore band, you've already kind of opted out of that at that point. But like being able to, you know, going through the record process and record deals, et cetera, or whatever it is, it's kind of just made us all realize a little bit more that like we just want to make sure we're staying true to ourselves, because we like everybody else have been guilty of, oh, this lick would be super cool and the tech people on Reddit are gonna like that riff or things like that. But like I even have a whole another band on the side specifically because of that, like a whole different genre, just like something I want to write, something I want to do. Last 3 singles, there's been a lot of, well, this doesn't sound like Weaver. Oh, well, this doesn't sound like this last. And it's like, you're right. It doesn't. Like, that's the goal. We want to make sure that we are forming something that the goal here, if we can form something that we have organically really enjoyed and people can get hyped on that, even if it takes a minute, that's the end goal. And like, we were hyped about Weaver. Weaver is a fun record and I still like really enjoy that one. But, you know, it happened 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And like our tastes change. We all grow as people and we all kind of like evolve and shift. I use 100th as a great example because they got so much backlash when they changed their sound from like hardcore to like synth rock, whatever you want to call it. But I loved it. Like, I love those records, and I love that they were willing to like leave something that they were sculpted into. You know, like when you think of 100th, you think of a hardcore band. You don't think of a synth rock band. But they were like, yeah, we just don't like that anymore. We're going to play what we want to play. You know, we're still in the same vein where it's like, this is still like technical metalcore. Like, it's still heavier music that we enjoy playing. We just want to make sure that we are not holding ourselves back from certain elements that could get backlash from like a public eye because of the fear of getting the backlash of the public eye, if that makes sense.
What is next for the Parallel?
So we're working on a lot of music right now. We're just trying to decide how we want to be releasing it. Being an independent group, you know, it's a little more expensive if you wanted to put out full records and things like that, especially like if touring is involved and living 2,000 miles away, the mixing process, everything like that. So we're debating right now, like, if we want to do like a full record, if we want to do an EP, if we want to do some singles. Like, we're sitting on probably like 9 tracks and just like need to get a mix. That's it. Mm-hmm. So depending if we want to add more. So like the cost of everything is just what we want to make sure, because with the pandemic, you know, money's a little tight sometimes all around the board. So just depending on individual situations, you know, if we could get it all done, we'd love to just like drop a record immediately. But we're gauging like the return on investment and, you know, availability to shoot music videos, availability to make content, because again, borders are closed, and like what the best approach is, because we don't want to sink all of our time into not doing it right, not putting the money in and doing it the right way and just having, I don't know, like it just kind of fall flat. So we're hovering on, we want to put this out, but we also like need content, you know, and like without being able to travel, it's kind of hard to build that content. So we've been doing singles, and we're honestly not opposed to the idea of just like continuously dropping singles. Everyone hates that. I know everyone loathes when people put out singles. I just like hear it all the time where it's like, no, we need EPs, we need albums. We're like, I don't mind singles. I think it's a lot more attainable as a band just to keep knocking them out.
Once you have enough singles, you can make an album. So
yeah, exactly. And like, who knows? Maybe we'll make like a collections thing after we drop 7,000 singles. I don't know. Or maybe we'll make an album. Who knows? So that's where we're going towards now. I'm really just waiting for the borders to open back up, because the second I can hop on a plane and hop up there, like I will in a heartbeat. So once borders open, we can kind of gauge things a little bit more. But we're still writing. We're still like growing and like learning more about our writing process and our organic sound as we go. So it's cool seeing the progression, even from like, for me, Phantom Pain's Barely Alive. Like, there's a little bit of a change in those 3 songs, and it's just, we can see it. We can slowly see ourselves like just finding our sound a little bit more now that we're independent and going in a different direction. So
before we wrap up, we always like to ask our guests, are there any particular local bands or bands that just aren't getting enough love that people should be listening to?
Oh man.
It can be local to Toronto or Utah.
Yeah. Give me all those Utah bands.
I haven't played a show in a hot minute. But local bands of the Northern, Red Handed Denial deserve some love for sure. Auras, those guys are phenomenal and they're great people. Everyone needs to go listen to Auras. Those are the 3 that come to mind immediately. The Luminary, another great band. We played a lot of shows with them. Good guys. Those are the ones that come to mind. If any others do, I'll definitely cut you guys off and be like, oh wait, this band. But those 4 specifically deserve some love.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. It was great to learn a little bit more about you, about the Parallel. I hope we get to see you up here sooner rather than later. Best of luck to the Parallel in 2021. And as we start to roll credits, which one of your songs do you want us to play?
Let's do Barely Alive.
That nice happy song, Barely Alive. Here's a heavy, technical, traumatizing song that will hopefully not be the soundtrack to 2021, but is excellent. Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Alex, thank you as well.